You're tuned into Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock.
And I said that anybody who challenges me on that, the first thing I ask them is, give me the example. Where is it? Do you have the evidence?
Don't do the crime. This is what you must do. In other words, you have to provide opportunity.
We still manage to keep education growing, to keep the economy afloat. No banks failed. Crime reduced.
City Services invested another $1 million in their facility.
You know, Martin Luther King says the only thing that counts is the content of your character.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Nation Building. On our program, we examine the political, social, and moral issues in the leadership of the Bahamas. On our program today, as usual, we have a special guest, but before I introduce my guest, I have a bit to say about where we are as a country and some of my thoughts. And I've stayed away over the last 2 years or so since we've started this program from having personal commentary, and I've allowed my guests to share their thoughts, of course, with criticisms from me. Doesn't matter where on the political divide they fall, doesn't matter where in the religious arena, denominational or non-denominational, they fall, and people with no denomination and no religion. And so we have sought to govern ourselves by the simple principle that we are seeking to build a nation, to play our role in helping to shape and to develop our country for the better of all of our citizens. As I said before, some people are very religious, some have no religion, some people are following one political party or the other, and others who are independent. And our mission here is to seek to provide fair and balanced information for all, and to provide information that's informative and educational. But periodically, we will have adjustments to our program, and today I thought it fitting, in light of all that has been happening in our country recently, to share a few thoughts that I have that I think is fair and balanced about the state of affairs of our country. It is no secret that in recent times we have had a significant uproar in the House of Assembly and on the political front. And there's accusations and allegations going across political divide as to what has happened in recent times in the House of Assembly having to do with the member of the Progressive Liberal Party, the official opposition, Mrs. Glenys Hannah Martin, and her being expelled by the Speaker, Mr. Halson Moultrie. I believe that notwithstanding what happens in the Parliament, first of all, I believe our parliamentarians owe us, they're obligated to serve us with integrity, honestly, and to provide an example to the citizens of our country, and particularly to our young people coming up, of what their standard should be for leadership and how you should conduct yourself. And I think while there's blame going across the political divide, there is no question that the conduct of members on both sides of the political divide has been less than civil and less than what us as citizens believe is fitting for being the leaders of our country. And so to that end, I wish to say to our citizens that it is important that we communicate with our political leaders, our members of parliament, and all of our political directorate, including the leader of government, the Prime Minister. It's important that we communicate the things that our expectations of them. And we've had a practice in the Bahamas for so long, it seems like forever, where we simply disengaged when a general election is done. Most of us just totally disengage, go back to our lives, and go business as usual. And I think that it is not a good practice. I believe that it is important for us to keep our political leaders on their toes, keep engaged, communicate with them. I've spoken to any number of politicians, including some of our past and present, well, not the well, when he was leader of the opposition, I spoke with him as well, but most of our political leaders of the past who have confessed themselves that they've been blindsided on issues, any number of issues where they've been out of touch with the population. And that happens because people do not share their thoughts, and they seem to wait for a referendum or an election to speak up. And I believe that, again, this practice is not healthy for our country, for our democracy. And so today I just want to challenge everyone as citizens to let us make our democracy work by speaking forthrightly and directly to our political leaders on issues, whether it has to do with decorum, statements they make that we agree or disagree on, whether it has to do with political decisions that they're making in running the government. And that, I believe, it will go a far way in helping us to foster a better situation and help to grow and develop our democracy. I'll also like to speak directly to our political leaders. And for the period that we have been conducting our shows, we have tried to find people from both political parties, when the Progressive Liberal Party was in government and now the Free National Movement, to appear on our show to talk about relevant issues that you, the citizens, want to know about. And it is a difficult job. I don't believe that our political leaders ought to hide from the media. I don't believe that they ought to not be forthright with the information that you, the public, want to hear and to know about. And so my challenge to you, the citizens of our country, is again to speak to your members of parliament, speak with your political leaders, and let them know how you feel. If it is that you desire to hear more from them in platforms such as these, then say so. It goes a long way in helping you, the citizens, to be better informed on issues and not to be so reliant on social media as is common these days, but to ensure that our leaders are held accountable. I don't believe programs like these should be used to go after any political side. I believe that all of the political parties in our country serve to help to develop our country and our democracy and make our country a better place. And we have a good example, not perfect, but a good example by looking to our neighbors to the north to see the role of media in the country. And so again, we here at Nation Building and other programs such as these cannot do it by ourselves. We depend on you, the viewers, and the citizens of the country to step up. If it is important to you, if we are doing a good job in helping you to hear and to understand what is going on in our country, then it is your responsibility to ensure that you demand of your representatives to appear in all forms of media to give information to you, the public. I believe that is one of the reasons you elect them, to do a good job for the country, but also to report to you. I think I've heard it so many times, and I feel the freedom to say it here, that politicians in our country are not elected on election day to govern for 5 years, and we don't hear from them anymore. I believe it's fair to say that all the citizens of our country want to hear from our politicians with regularity, and mediums such as these are certainly a great platform for them to do that. And so it's been a pleasure serving you, the Bahamian people. We want to, and we will continue to do so. We'll continue to invite members of all political parties, different denomination, different religious grouping, business community, to come and to share with you their thoughts and to pass questions to them that I hear as I travel through the airports and I move about the country daily. I take note of the questions that you ask me, so continue to share your thoughts with me. Some of you all contact us through social media, on our website or on Facebook or on Twitter, whatever means you feel comfortable, or to talk to me directly when you see me myself. So I want to take this opportunity to thank you for continuing to view our program, and we pledge in 2018 to do our best in making sure we bring you fair and balanced programs here on Nation Building. I'll introduce my guests after these messages.
Time is money, and when you need more of both, fly Western Air. 12 flights daily between Nassau and Freeport. At Western Air, your 11th round trip is always free. Flights to Marsh Harbor coming soon.
Who said you can't get great quality products at an affordable price? If you want the best quality food products at the most affordable prices, you must pick up the Jamaica Bahama brand of fine quality products at your favorite food store. Products like Jamaica Bahama Coconut Water, the most healthy and refreshing drink on the market. Jamaica Bahama Fruit Punch, the only fruit punch in the Bahamas made from real fruit. Jamaica Bahama coconut milk, green pigeon peas with coconut milk, condensed milk, kidney beans with coconut milk, corned beef, green pigeon peas, mackerel, and corn. Jamaica Bahama's fine line of products is available at all your favorite food stores and convenience stores nationwide. Telephone 351-8282 in Freeport and 341-4091 in Nassau. I don't wanna win. No, no, I don't wanna win.
Well, as an Alive customer, I've really come to enjoy the national roaming that Alive provides. It makes sure that I'm in touch with the people I need to be in touch with at all times, almost no matter where I am in the Bahamas. Recently, while traveling on a youth trip, I had the opportunity to use my Alive phone. Service was great, impeccable. The place where I was at didn't have internet access, so I was able to use my Alive phone for that to make sure I stayed in touch with email, even watching a movie on the phone. I also like that Alive has become such a great corporate citizen. After the hurricane, Alive was very generous with persons from the Southern Islands who were impacted. And at a time when it was really difficult for them, came through with phones for them that they can stay in touch with their loved ones. Phones that when they go back home, they can continue to be in touch with their loved ones because Alive has their islands covered.
We're at the Mall at Marathon to test Alive's network as compared to the other guys. Check it out. Alive is the most powerful network. With over 190 small cells deployed within our network, this can give you up to 170 megabits per second with the use of LTE Advanced with carrier aggregation. A powerful phone deserves a powerful network. Believe in best. Alive.
Hello.
Did you get it?
Yes, baby. I got it.
Don't come home without it.
These arms of mine, they are yearning for wanting you.
Where is it?
Strongback is distributed by Jamaica Bahamas Import and is available at your favorite food or convenience store nationwide. For more information, call 341-4091 in Nassau and 351-8282 in
Welcome back to Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock. And on our program today, we have a very special guest. Last time he was here, he is a regular, but last time he was here, he was not wearing a title, an official title. And so I want to welcome back to our program Mr. Kevin Harris, who is now in charge of BIS in our country, or the director of the Bahamas Information Services.
Right.
Welcome back to our program. And as we talk to the country today, take the opportunity to share with them about BIS, but we'll get started by talking a little about how you end up being in this significant role in our country, providing leadership for BIS, which is the arm that disseminates government information.
Right. Well, let me say, first of all, thank you for having me again on Nation Building. It's been a few months, and I guess
and a lot has changed.
A lot has changed since that time, and the appointment really came as a result of the Prime Minister making the offer to spearhead what is known as Bahamas Information Service. Some people know it simply as BIS. The position is Director General, and it really calls for spearheading the agency that is really responsible for the gathering, editing, and dissemination of government information, particularly when it comes to the cabinet ministers and the arm of the government that is really functioning at the cabinet level, as well as some of the government ministries that we have throughout the country.
Good. And so the title of Director General of Bahamas Information Services, you were appointed by the Prime Minister, by the Cabinet or the Prime Minister?
Well, actually it would be both. I mean, obviously the Prime Minister sits as the chairman or CEO of Cabinet, and so he would be among those making the decision. But the initial offer traditionally comes from the Prime Minister. The Cabinet obviously has to approve it.
And for those in our country that are curious of how you ended up in a significant post such, you want to share your experience in this field of information? So that
well, I think you know, most leaders will try to find people that are best fits for either a government agency or a appointment that they're considering if they're successful at a general election. In my case, the opportunity for Bahamas Information Service would have been not only very easy, I think, on the behalf of the Prime Minister and the government, because it is really something that I'm very experienced in, but also it was a good fit because, again, having been involved with public relations and marketing and broadcasting for a number of years.
How many years?
Well, now I've probably be over 25 years now. And so having really been involved in so many aspects of the media and having worked in different media organizations really gave me the kind of background and experience to take on an assignment like this. And so I believe from the government side it was a good fit, and I believe from me on a personal side it was a good fit. I wasn't walking into something that was unfamiliar. The structure of government may be new to me, but in terms of getting the job done and what we do on a day-to-day basis, very familiar territory. But of course now we come into an old wine scenario, bringing new wine and trying to now bring in new ideas for the way forward.
What is the complement like at BIS in terms of staff complement?
We have a staff of over 50 plus persons. We have 2 offices, one in New Providence and one in Grand Bahama. And so our staff is really split. We have a small team in Grand Bahama, around 10 or a little over 10 persons there. And the majority of them are here in New Providence. But we do have a nice complement and a tremendous amount of talent. And the agency is split really between the creative and the administrative. And when we look at those 2 areas, they both need each other to function adequately. And so when we look at our complement right now, we have some of the best from the creative side, writers, broadcasters, editors, photographers, I believe that this country has ever produced. And the kind of work that we're now getting out of BIS, many persons are coming up and asking us, where have you been? And we did not know you had this kind of talent or quality at Bahamas Information Service, but it has been there. And simply we have come in with a tremendous vision and plan, and we met a great pool of people and talent, and we've been able to work with them, motivate them, and get them steered in the right direction, and the information is now flowing the way it should be.
Okay, now you talked about what is happening currently. Let's back up a bit and find out, when did you take office?
My appointment was effective the 1st of January 2018, so shortly thereafter I was actually in the chair. But since the beginning of January, and since going into the office and really getting a feel, it has been a very interesting and a very learning experience. Because again, you know, you're coming from the private sector, and so you're coming into a government structure. Even though the territory is familiar in terms of media, broadcasting, etc., it's still a different apparatus that you have to now work in and adjust to. But so far, I'm really grateful that I've had the pleasure of having a great team of persons, both from the administrative side and the creative side, to work with. And so far, I think we're doing very well in getting the job done that the Prime Minister and the Cabinet expect.
Still early days.
Still early days, but the good thing about it is we have a tremendous vision and plan. The Bahamian people have an expectation from Bahamas Information Service. They would like to know what their government is doing on their behalf. And I believe that we play a crucial role in helping to meet that daily need. And again, the long-term, well, we have short, medium, and long-term goals call for really being able to connect with the average Bahamian on a daily basis so that they are involved and informed as to what the government is doing.
Let me ask, and I can't help it, the comments you made may or may not, but I take it that it suggests that the agency is going through a revolution, to put it in my words. What, without being critical of your predecessor, what significant changes are you bringing to Bahamas Information Service?
Well, I think first of all, when I got there, what I found was that we had these areas in the agency, particularly in the creative side, that were being underutilized. All right, we've got persons now providing voiceover talent for some of our television production pieces that was just sitting there. People did not know. But now the Bahamas gets to hear them on a weekly basis. We've got writers within the agency who are now coming in and looking at some of the frequency of some of the work that are now producing at the level I believe that they're capable of. So when I got there, we really, just quite honestly, were not performing at the level that we could have been. The potential was much greater. And having recognized that, we immediately started to work with our heads of department and our managers to put in a very, very proactive and aggressive plan to get the information out. And that is, again, what the Bahamian people, as well as the government, is looking for us to do. Get them the information that exists. But the machinery or the apparatus that was in place and that was being utilized, it was poorly managed in my estimation, and I believe that it really didn't have the kind of focus and the kind of leadership I think that needed to really accomplish the mission that it was designed to.
And in saying that it was poorly managed, from where you sit, do you fault the political directorate for that poor management, or do you fault the leadership at the organization from its directorship
It's hard
level?
for me to say what happened there. I think that they would have to speak to that. I can't say because I can only just say, just quite honestly, that I think the process that we met really needed to have more focus. I think a lot of the leadership that exists within the organization really needed more support for their ideas, and I think that they needed to have more platforms. And one of the first things we did was, of course, have a time of discussion with those leadership fractions within the organization, and I found that it was very fruitful.
Fractions?
Well, not fractions, but in terms of the different areas of the organization, because again, we're split between administration and creative, and so that's what I'm talking about. But we don't have any division situations there. I think it's very harmonious. I think people, to me, seem to be working very well together. We're getting a lot done now. Again, I'm not sure what was the motivation, the intent, and the reason why it was not producing at the level that it was. I can only say that since coming in, I'm very happy that the team have really been interested and very cooperative to the vision and the ideas that we've been putting forward. And one of the things that I believe we've been also able to do is put into the pipeline a lot of their ideas, a lot of the
They're meaning the staff?
Meaning staff as well as managers, because they come equipped with years of experience of their own. And a number of them have years in the industry. And so when you look at the quality of work that they bring to the table, it's really first class, it's global, and it's at a very high level. And so it was really just being able to hear them, being able to incorporate some of the things that they believe should happen, and put that in a very meaningful and structured plan. And I think we're doing well because of it.
Now, you know, one of the accusations that our citizens constantly make, and I think they have good grounds to make it, is that organizations such as yours and any number of government agencies and corporations are loaded with political appointees. And so you alluded earlier to this, the agency, to put it in my words, not functioning at its optimal, and the staff, their talents and gifts not being utilized. Is it true in the BIS, as it is in many other government agencies, that you also have a lot of people that are simply political appointees, or people that were placed there by politicians that really don't fit and thus cause the organization to not benefit from working at its optimum?
Well, I could say that since walking into BIS, I didn't walk in with a political spectacle on to say who's who and what is what and who put you here and how did you get here. That's not been at all been the way we have approached, or I have approached, the whole leadership aspect of the agency. Now, getting to the question as to the realities that, yes, people are placed in these agencies, and yes, you do find that there are folks who are in some of these agencies, including the BIS, that are truly still trying to find their way, all right? And so
at the taxpayer's dime.
Well, again, these are decisions that are made before my time. You know, you walk into situations and you have to embrace what you find. But one thing that we are currently doing is that we are taking advantage of that talent. We are utilizing those resources.
Where there is poor or misfits?
Well, at this time for us, I'm very fortunate. We're fortunate enough to have, number one, great managers that are really good at making sure that the persons that are underneath them in the various departments are active and that they are fulfilling some of their potential in some meaningful way. And so I'm not sure what the other folks are facing in terms of other agencies, but I know at Bahamas Information Services, we are about taking advantage of every bit of the talent and resources that we have in that agency.
On that note, you're watching Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, I'm Wendell Jones, and every time I sit down and I watch JCN television, I drink the Jamaica Bahama food juice. It's so pleasing to the palate.
I've been cooking Bahamian dishes for generations. I now use Jamaica Bahamas product. The rice is very fluffy, very tasty, and good eating. Jamaica Bahama product is simply the best.
As an insurance agent, my life is go, go, go. But whenever I need a refreshing break, it's Jamaica Bahamas Island Mixed Fruit Drink. Good.
Hi, I'm Debbie Bartlett from GEMS 105.9 FM. The effect that Island Junkanoo Juice Medley has on me is exhilarating.
The concierge service is the best thing ever. Like, it is so fabulous, especially for someone like me where I cannot leave my office, my job, to go do anything in the middle of the day because I'm on the radio. The service was so fabulous. The ladies gave me a call. They set up an appointment. They come with their professional looking attire. They're just so cute. And they come here, and it was a great experience. It took 20 minutes to switch over to the Alive service. It was simple. It was easy. And it just made me feel so welcomed. They explained everything. They hooked me up with my new phone. They gave me my data package. As you can see, hey. And it was fabulous. It was a wonderful service, but what I really liked best about it was not only did they come here and make it easy for me, but they continued to check up on me. The next day, they made sure that everything was working properly with the phone. I didn't have any issues. The following week, they contacted me again, and I've built a relationship with them. They've continued to check up on me. I feel like I'm part of the Alive family. It's amazing.
Time is money, and when you need more of both, fly Western Air. 12 flights daily between Nassau and Freeport. At Western Air, your 11th round trip is always free. Flights to Marsh Harbor coming soon.
Hello.
Did you get it?
Yes, baby. I got it.
Don't come home without it.
These arms of mine, they are yearning for wanting you.
Where is it?
Strongback is distributed by Jamaica Bahamas Import and is available at your favorite food or convenience store nationwide. For more information, call 341-4091 in Nassau and 351-8282 in Florida.
Welcome back to Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock, and I'm here today with a very, very important guest. He is providing the Bahamian people with information from its government, and we're talking to Mr. Kevin Harris, who is Director General of the Bahamas Information Service. That's a big title, Director General, almost Attorney General. Maybe that's next. Now, Mr. Harris, we talked about your agency a little bit. I want to get a little deeper for the understanding of the Bahamian people about your agency, and we should really start by asking in this segment, who do you report to? Who is your Director General of the agency in terms of the governing structure?
Right.
Who do you report to?
Well, the person I would be directly reporting to would be Parliamentary Secretary in the Office of Prime Minister, Mrs. Pakeisha Parker Edgecombe, who has direct responsibility for communication and information. And so ultimately, she would be my boss, and certainly right above Mrs. Parker Edgecombe would be the Prime Minister, because we fall underneath the Office of Prime Minister. All right, and so years ago, Bahamas Information Service was under the Ministry of Tourism, but it has since been moved to the Office of Prime Minister. So that's how the leadership or the authority structure now lies.
And with that authority structure, many in our country would say, you are simply a political appointee that must do the bidding of the government of the day. How do you, is that a fact? And if not, how do you comfort our people in knowing that they can rely on your agency to get?
One part of it is a fact. I am a political appointee. The second part of it is inaccurate. We're not there to do the bidding of the government. We are simply there to provide information about what the government is doing to the Bahamian people, all right? We're very blessed and fortunate that we don't, and I have not experienced what we would refer to as political interference. That's not what's happening, and we're very blessed to have the kind of leadership that believe and trust what we're doing at BIS. We, of course, keep our leadership, Mrs. Parker Edgecombe, the Prime Minister, and of course the Cabinet. We have implemented a system where they are also, as other Bahamians, getting up-to-date information as well. So I think it's a level of comfort for them to know that they are involved in our database, that they also can get updates on a daily basis about what they're doing as well, because sometimes they may not know what their counterpart is doing at one of these ministries, and so the database opportunity allows them to get information on a daily basis. And so, no, we don't exist to get into politics, or we're not a political division of anything. It is simply, again, the government's information resource bank. And speaking about resource, we do have an archive division of BIS, where the Bahamian people can take advantage of either getting photographs or information about the performance of government, not just this government, but of course past administrations. And historically, we do have some things available at BIS for persons who are doing research, whether it's school projects for children, whether it's persons off in universities or organizations that need information. We do have a library that serves as a great archive for a lot of that information. So BIS really has a tremendous opportunity, and it is functioning at this time as a great resource for the Bahamian people, getting current information as well as getting archive information or historical information.
How far back?
Oh, many years. You're talking as far back as 60s and 70s, absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
so pre-independence.
Pre-independence as well as, of course, post-independence. We do have a lot of information, and of course, one of the big things that we get a request for is a lot of photographs, because we do have a great pool of photographers, very talented, some of whom have been with the agency for years, and they would have taken historical pictures, whether it's certain big events, right? And of course, even personalities, whether it's past governor generals, past prime ministers, past cabinet ministers. We do get a lot of requests for those kinds of photographs as well.
So BIS is similar to the Broadcasting Corporation in terms of providing video footage of historical events and what governments has done over the years. BIS provides a photo archive. Where is BIS currently located that members of the public can go in and request, seeing that you said it's open to the public?
Well, absolutely. Well, right now we share space with ZNS. We are occupying the old radio division of ZNS, and so right now we're in the ZNS building. Currently, we are hoping within the future to have another location for BIS, but at this time the public can access us at that location, and we find that people generally can find us very, very easily, and it gives them an opportunity to sometimes deal with both the ZNS factor and BIS if they have to get different things they need from a video or from an audio perspective. But certainly we do have our own independent operation there at BIS. We do have a fully staffed production team. We also have an audio production division, so we have television as well as audio. We have a photo studio where we take the official photographs of all cabinet ministers, members of parliament, senators, the prime minister, etc. We also, of course, have information officers that are charged with getting information from the various government ministries. And so we do have a full complement on the creative side. One of the new areas that we have there at BIS that we are now putting a little bit more attention to is our social media division. We're very excited about that, and we do have some dynamic young people that are assisting us with that vision in that area. And so it's a very active agency, lots to be done on a daily basis.
Have you talking about social media, have you had any are aware of any recent hirings? Because I know a lot of these government agencies also are heavily staffed with people that are more, I was chastised recently for talking about older people on our program and trying to, I guess, push the whole concept of bringing in some of the younger generation to bring in their creativity to leadership at different aspects of government. So by no means am I saying that those who are a little older, a little more mature, should just get out the way altogether. I'm simply saying it's important to have a fusing of the new generation at every level of leadership and government in order to provide a young and upcoming generation with to keep current. I'm sure you're fully in agreement with the fact that as we age, we lose touch, even though we try to keep up with.
Right.
So talking about social media in particular, there are social media gurus, if I can say so, out there in the younger generation, and I would suspect that if you're going to have a dynamic social media reach, that you would have to have a fairly relatively fresh bunch of young, dynamic people who are creative and on the cutting edge in order to get this information out to the country and to Bahamians living all over the world. Absolutely. We're really pleased that the individuals that make up our social media team, they're all young people. Oh, they are? They're all young people. So the person who you succeeded, your predecessor or predecessors must have done at least a good job in that area in bringing in some young talent. We did meet some of them there, and to their credit, they of course had some of those persons involved. We have expanded a little bit of what we have social media doing. At the time when I arrived, I think there was just a single focus. Now that's expanded a little bit more. But certainly, we do have some young talent, and we're utilizing them on a daily basis to help us with our mission and our goal to make sure that we reach as many people through social media, not just here in the Bahamas, but you have to appreciate that we have regional counterparts, and those persons also look towards Bahamas Information Service to get whether it's current or historical information for their own media purposes, whatever CARICOM country we're talking about, and even those overseas within the United States and Europe. So we are very aware that people depend upon what we do, not just here locally, but overseas. And so we're making sure that our website stays very much up to date and current and populated with information and content, as well as our social media pages. Have you done any upgrades to your, or are you planning to do any significant upgrades to your website? Because one of the complaints have been a lot of these platforms have outdated and needs upgrade. Well, we are right now undergoing a rebranding exercise. We're moving towards that, and that's going to be an exciting project. We have established some teams within the agency that's helping us to coordinate this rebranding exercise, and part of that will include not only a new face look to the image of the agency and what we do, but also our social media platforms and our website will be upgraded to complement the new branding that we plan to put in place. Interesting. The agency, as you explained it, is a significant part not just of providing local information to the country at large, but internationally. And I find that in countries such as Jamaica and Trinidad, you find that the information services, because you have a Jamaica information, a Barbados information services. I don't know what the U.S. call their arm of government that does what you do, but those entities have significant facilities, and I mean, they're large. I mean, to look at where you are in terms of being located at ZNS, you're not in your own building. I don't know the physical space that you occupy, but I would imagine as significant as a role as your agency plays, that you would have a building, the BIS building, with archive sections and photography and video sections and so on. Do you foresee in the near future any significant expansion, or is it just going to be a gradual process? Well, I believe, based upon the needs that we have, we would like one day to really have our own standalone building dedicated to Bahamas Information Service. I believe that has to happen because of the role that Bahamas Information Services play in the country and overseas. So I believe we have to move to the point where there is a building just dedicated to that very important arm of the government. At this time, we may be looking at a short-term measure in that we may have to look at an opportunity to, whether relocation-wise, just to be able to operate the agency in a more efficient manner until we can get to the long-term objective. So there may be a short-term and then a long-term goal when it comes to this whole business of where we're located and how we're going to be able to operate. There's a criticism of your agency that BIS in the past, in recent years, have not been very public in terms of the having consistent information flowing to the public, more of a routine basis. I looked at other countries, Caribbean countries even, where you have time allowed for government broadcasts being dedicated to, so that all radio stations daily at a certain time has to provide information to the public so that people can be abreast of current and important information that government wishes to publicize, as opposed to people having to depend on private radio stations and television stations to put out information. I guess ZNS would play a significant role in that regard here, but as far as people listening to radio stations and wanting to have wanting to ensure that government information is passed on to the public in a consistent and timely way. Are you satisfied with what exists, or do you see the need to copy some of those countries that has that as a law, structure really, to ensure that private stations provide airtime for this kind of stuff on a daily basis?
Well, from the public side of things, we have a standing order or a standing arrangement with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas, which is ZNS. We do have a certain amount of time that's been allotted to BIS for the dissemination of our programming or information. That is something that we're going to be taking full advantage of. We are now in the middle of our planning to make sure that we are producing programming and content so that we can utilize the time that is already allocated to us via the public broadcasting opportunity, which is called ZNS. In terms of private broadcasting, that's something that's yet to be explored and to be considered as to how do we step outside of the boundaries of the government opportunity via ZNS to private broadcasting opportunities or stations, radio stations or TV stations to get the information out. We haven't quite looked at that yet. We are just at the phase now where we want to utilize what's already in front of us and making sure that we maximize those opportunities first, coupled with our social media program, coupled with our online presence, and coupled with a database program that we are now engaged in. We believe that we will be able to really touch a tremendous amount of the Bahamian populace once the plans that we have in place start to really unravel and become even more a reality. We believe we'll be able to get directly to many of the Bahamian citizens as possible.
Two quick questions, and we're running out of time, so we have to make this quick. But have you considered, there has been a complaint for eons about information not, our young people in schools not being aware of current and historical information. And you talked earlier about the archive at BIS. Have you considered disseminating information directly geared at schools to provide, whether that be a photo gallery in each schools or whatever other methods you might work with our local schools, primary schools, or even high schools, to ensure that young people are abreast of significant figures and events and date lines, timelines in our country?
As a matter of fact, we just had a very good meeting yesterday looking at that very issue. We are looking at a very aggressive plan to be able to play a role at Bahamas Information Service to ensure that public schools and the public library and all those institutions and the Department of Archives and other places can have access to information in its various formats, whether that's audiovisual, whether that's print, whether that's social media, so that children, whether they're in Exuma, whether they're in Grand Bahama, or whether they're here in New Providence, will be able to have access to current and past information, as well as we want to provide them with some of the tools that will educate them about their government, current government, as well as past governments, and certainly, of course, historical information of the country. We believe we exist to play a meaningful role in being able to get information out, and that's not just current information. And so, yes, we are looking at a very aggressive plan that will reach every classroom in the Bahamas, and that's not just here in New Providence, but throughout the islands. And we're also looking at that expanding to public libraries as well.
Can't let you go without asking, and I meant to do this earlier. You mentioned earlier that you're not a political arm. You function for the government of the Bahamas. You're not politically, as an agency, you don't do the bidding of the government per se, of the government of the day. What happens, Director Harris, when your boss, the parliamentary secretary, calls and says, look, government needs to see more of this particular thing that we did, or we need to have more public information being put out about this, and that can border on being, pushing political information. What do you say to your minister or your parliamentary secretary?
Well, I think it's very difficult for it to be political information if the parliamentary secretary or the prime minister, for instance, is saying that there's a desire to have more information about the performance of the government. Well, that falls right in line with what we are there to do.
But that's promoting what the government of the day is doing.
Well, we are there not to promote the politics of the government. Now, you have to make sure there's a difference. In other words, when you say what the government is doing, in other words, if the prime minister is announcing something big in Grand Bahama, or the prime minister wants to say something that's forecasting something, that's something that he's doing. And I'll give you an example. We were the ones that, of course, taped and produced the national address by the Prime Minister. That was BIS. We would have produced that program and disseminated that to the various...
Was that live, or was taped and then sent to the network?
It was prepackaged and sent out.
So BIS would have made sure the Prime Minister's speech was properly done before the networks put it out to the country?
Well, we wouldn't have interfered necessarily in his speech. Our role was purely a production role. Okay. But the point I'm making is that the Prime Minister, or even our parliamentary secretary, in all facets that I've experienced, they're truly committed to making sure that the Bahamian people understand what the government is doing on their behalf. And certainly we've never seen anything, at least since I've been there, that's crossed that desk, that's anything political.
Thank you.
We want to keep it that way.
Thank you so much, sir, for coming and sharing with our public. Hopefully you learn more about the Bahamas Information Service, and you're more informed and understand the role that BIS is playing in building a better Bahamas. On behalf of all of us here at Nation Building, I want to thank you today for watching us. Stay tuned. We have a very exciting program coming your way next week, right here on Nation Building. You're tuned into Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock.
And I said that anybody who challenges me on that, the first thing I ask them is, give me the example. Where is it? Do you have the evidence?
Don't do the crime. This is what you must do. In other words, you have to provide opportunity.
We still manage to keep education growing, to keep the economy afloat. No banks failed. Crime reduced.
City Services invested another $1 million in their facility.
Martin Luther King says the only thing that counts is the content of your character.
Naturally, I was reluctant to start out with a new company initially. But since I went with Alive, I mean, all the problems I had in the past in terms of, blackouts, and sometimes you don't have service even though you're paid up. I'd go to the family islands, I can't make calls. But since I've had Alive, it's easy to comment that it's been considerably less expensive and the service has been remarkable. I work with a number of charities, Special Olympics, the Friends of the Blood Bank, and Alive has partnered with all of those organizations. And the contributions have been significant, to the point now with the Friends of the Blood Bank, without Alive, we wouldn't be as successful as we are.
Time is money, and when you need more of both, fly Western Air. 12 flights daily between Nassau and Freeport. At Western Air, your 11th round trip is always free. Flights to Marsh Harbor coming soon.
Hello?
Did you get it?
Yes, baby. I got it.
Don't come home without it.
These arms of mine, they are yearning for wanting you.
Where is it?
Strongback is distributed by Jamaica Bahamas Import and is available at your favorite food or convenience store nationwide. For more information, call 341-4091 in Nassau and 351-8282 in Freeport.
Who said you can't get great quality products at an affordable price? If you want the best quality food products at the most affordable prices, you must pick up the Jamaica Bahama brand of fine quality products at your favorite food store. Products like Jamaica Bahama Coconut Water, the most healthy and refreshing drink on the market. Jamaica Bahama Fruit Punch, the only fruit punch in the Bahamas made from real fruit. Jamaica Bahama Coconut Milk, green pigeon peas with coconut milk, condensed milk, kidney beans with coconut milk, corned beef, green pigeon peas, mackerel, and corn. Jamaica Bahamas' fine line of products is available at all your favorite food stores and convenience stores nationwide. Telephone 351-8282 in Freeport and 341-4091 in Nassau.
I don't wanna wait.